call this June 2nd board meeting to order. George, can you take roll?
Sure. Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, with that, that brings us to our district goals. I'd just like to mention that, with every board meeting, all our decisions, student achievement, financial prudence, and you'll see a number of those items are going to, as always, all the items on this agenda relate to that, and we've got some very specific ones to that tonight. So we'll be working our way through that. And maybe as a temporary goal for the next 2 weeks, one of the goals could be that the Cavs win, and that's why we're all dressed in Cavs. Well, Cavs fans are dressed in appropriate Cavs colors. You can make your implications on the others. One happens to be in a gold jacket. Well, we won't get into that. So. All right, thank you very much. And now that brings us to donation. Jenny?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Naso. For our Donation to Excellence in Athletics program, I'm going to go to the podium, and I would like to call Rob Petruska to the podium. Okay. On behalf of Strongsville City Schools and our Excellent in Athletics campaign, I would like to thank Rob Petruska, the president of Progressive Poured Walls and Strongsville alumni, for his donation of $100,000 toward our high school, middle school athletic turf project. This donation includes the naming rights for the new high school track, as it will be called Progressive Poured Walls Track. Rob is a former track standout athlete, and so his donation is a way for him to give back to other student athletes. It is through the generosity of companies and people like yourself that we are able to bring 2 turf fields to our students and community. This does require a separate vote, Mr. Naso. So be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that a donation in the amount of $100,000 be accepted from J. Rob Petruska as part of the Excellence in Athletics campaign.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George.
Second.
Thank you, Duke. Discussion. I just want to thank Rob. I mean, it's just incredible what you guys did, what you did and your family did, and you're coming forward like this. We were able to raise, I looked at the list this morning, and we're approaching $1.7 million, which is just crazy. And in such a short period of time, it shows how this community can come together on an issue like that and provide fields that are so needed. And it's just going to put us right in par, and it's just, we're going to focus on athletics, and it's going to be an incredible time for this district as far as athletics goes, and our other arts and academics as well. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. It's incredible. I met your family tonight, a beautiful family, and just thank you so much for what you've done. I don't know if any other boards want to talk, or you guys good?
I'll say it again. Thank you. Thank you to you, and thank you to your family. There's going to be a lot of kids, hundreds and thousands of kids playing on those fields, and thank you for me, for my children, my family, but for all the kids in Strongsville. Thank you very much.
We're excited. That's excellent.
Good with the vote.
Take a vote.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So cool.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your generosity. It's really appreciated.
Got an idea.
All right. That brings us to recognition.
Okay, at this time, I would like to call up Mr. Brian Tamino to the podium to recognize our Channel 5 Athlete of the Week.
Thank you, Mrs. Palco and members of the Board of Education. On behalf of Mr. Smithberger and the entire administrative team and staff of Strongsville High School, it is my pleasure to be here tonight to recognize our 3rd student athlete of the week from WEWS Newsnet 5. I think this is, in my memory, we have not had 3 in 1 year, so we're very excited this year. I would ask Mason Reynolds to join me at the podium. Mason is a product of the Strongsville City Schools. He attended Chapman Elementary School, Albion Middle School, and recently graduated from Strongsville High School. Mason has played lacrosse and football at the varsity level during his time in Strongsville. He has taken a very rigorous curriculum, including AP courses in areas such as calculus, Spanish, and environmental science. He has been a very important member of our DECA group, who you've seen earlier at one of the board meetings, and actually placed first in the DECA district competition. He has been captain of our lacrosse team. He was named all-conference for football as well. In his nomination, some of the terms that were used to describe Mason were a true team player, always putting the team first before himself, and an unsung hero. Mason, as I said, graduated and is moving on to Ohio University in the fall, where he plans to study mechanical engineering. And again, on my behalf of the administrative team and personally as his principal, it is my pleasure to congratulate Mason and wish him well. Thank you. Congratulations, Mason.
Great accomplishments.
Good job, good work. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks. We're so proud of you. Thank you.
Best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, moving right along. That public comment, we don't have any tonight. That brings us to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. I only have one item for your consideration tonight, and it's in the area of the turf. It's moving the $150,000 turf credit that we had in the middle school construction budget for the grass fields. It's just moving the dollars that were earmarked for that from the middle school construction project to the turf account. It's more of an accounting entry. I was originally going to have it booked to the construction budget, but the way that we've set it up and the way we're tracking the cost and the cost reports with Hammond, it's just cleaner to put it with other accounts. So it's not additional money, it's money that we've always earmarked for it as part of the credit. It's just moving it from one account to the next. Need board approval because it's in a different cash account. So,
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Duke, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I'm very, very glad that George gets so excited about these fund numbers, because that's got to be tedious. So thanks for keeping good track of all the money.
No problem. Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
perfect. Superintendent's report.
I have 3 items under timely information for you. First, I'd like to just, on behalf of Cameron and myself, I would just like to thank everybody for a successful end of the year. It was certainly challenging with the closure of 3 of our buildings. In addition, moving 6th graders into the middle school next year, we had to have double ceremonies and graduations. And as Cameron and I went around the last 2 days of school, we saw many boxes being packed and teachers really trying to move things out and organize, and just a lot of effort in getting everything done. So I just wanted to commend everyone, and with even all of that, all of the ceremonies and field days and everything still went as planned. So congratulations to all of our administration, staff, teachers, and everyone involved. They did an excellent job closing the year. We still have our demo bid open, I believe, and Dan, I'm not sure if we have any other bids, but so far Dan's it. So please get in there and bid. You have first crack at Center Middle School, and that will be planned sometime, I believe, in June. You can go to our website if you're interested in doing that. I know the annex has begun to come down. So soon Center will be next. We had to turn over Center yesterday, I believe, for abatement. So we're moving right along there. And then finally, we have our focus groups planned for our community to come in and give feedback to Cameron and myself as far as creating the next iteration of our OIP. And so those dates, again, for everybody are June 28th and 29th, from 6 to 7:30 here at the administrative offices, and also again on the 12th of July, from 6 to 7:30 here at the administrative offices, room 15. If anybody would like to participate, we welcome your attendance. And that is all I have, Mr. Naso.
Thank you very much.
I do have one item underneath timely information, if I can move on to that.
Sure.
Okay, this does require a separate vote. We have the addendum to the donation agreement with Southwest General Health Center. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves an addendum to the donation agreement with Southwest General Health Center for the Excellence in Athletics campaign as it appears in the exhibit.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke.
Second.
Second, thank you, Jane. And I know the addendum, if you look at it, the difference is the timing of the cash, the initial cash distribution takes it over 4 years
Correct.
instead of to one, which is still perfect. So that's, I don't know if anybody has any questions or discussion on it. If not, let's take a vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Business services?
Thank you, Mr. Naso. Under Business Services tonight, we have 2 items. Both of them are change orders. The first item is a change order to the contract for GPD to design the elementary school projects we want to do in phases. Some we'd like to get done this summer and the rest of them next summer. Due to the timing, some of the quicker projects like sidewalks might be accomplished this summer. But we do need a contract with the architect to design these projects, and this is the first step. His letter of engagement is included under Exhibit C, but I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the execution of a change order with GPD Architectural Services to provide design and contract administration for multiple projects, including parking lot and sidewalk repairs, heating and cooling renovations at Kinsner and Chapman, roof replacement at Whitney at a cost not to exceed $99,100. Funding to be from the Elementary School Construction Fund. Oh, that should be 004. Elementary School Construction 004.
So
Zero,
moved.
zero.
Second.
Thank you, Duke. Thank you, Jane. The only question I have, all this has been approved by RFC, the owners.
I spoke with Roger today, going over some of the details. What we're doing is we understand that we're in a very busy time right now. So we're not gonna be doing the work at this point. We're getting the architect involved. Let's make sure we have a proper plan in place, and then we'll start doing this stuff in phases.
Excellent. Take a roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. The other item we have under Business Services this evening is a middle school change order. It has to do with modifications to Project Lead the Way classrooms, computer labs, as well as some minor, well, not minor, but it's obviously not minor, it's $157,000, but it has to do with furniture, it has to do with facility wiring for the computers, et cetera, the data lines, et cetera, just to make sure that the computer labs and the building is set the way our curriculum is designed. So the resolution reads, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the execution of a change order with Hammond Construction to include additional labor, material, and equipment costs associated with new computer labs, office modifications, and Project Lead the Way room revisions at a total cost of $157,146.24. Funding to be from the Middle School Construction Fund 004.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. I know we've had a lot of discussion about these items. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of push, a lot of, so we've worked these pretty hard. So I don't know if anybody has any further discussion on it.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Has Vicki Turner been involved with this?
Oh, every
from the
step of the
first
way,
step.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so these mods to the computer labs are the way they want them then?
Correct.
Because, I mean, we've had, and I know George can attest to this, a lot of change orders. And I know they're necessary at times, but they also seem pretty expensive also.
And
So-
what we've done And the best way I can describe it, it's the difference between theory and practical. It's easy to look at a set of plans and say, this room's gonna be here, this room's gonna be here. But as you start walking the building, and Vicki made some different changes, and let me give you an example. Each floor, that you'll have an assistant principal per grade level. Well, there was a room, and I think Mark, you and I, and Jenny, we look at it. It was the most wonderful storage room you'd ever seen in your entire life. It had the greatest view of the inner courtyard and everything else, and what we thought was, okay, well, I understand this is a storage room, but this is a perfect place to be able to put a counselor. So now you're right next to your administrative team. So what we did is just a few small modifications to be able to maximize the square footage of that building. And I'm really proud of the administration understanding that we've had costs. The first irradiation of this was $400,000. And we basically said, we can't spend that. And so literally it's been a 6-week process, piece by piece by piece. And Cameron and Cameron's team did a great job to be able to reduce that. And I get it, Duke, but this is why we have that contingency fund, and we still have plenty of that contingency fund. But we're squeezing every single penny we can, sir.
And you're getting a little grayer.
I'm getting a lot more grayer right here, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, the vast majority of the change orders have been additional things that we've been able to
Yes.
afford because of the way we've worked the process and the way we've reduced the cost on bid day savings and those kinds of things. That's been the vast majority of the change orders. There's only been a few that have been just literally, we planned it this way, we changed it to this. So, I mean, we've done a pretty good job of that. But, as you can see, 157 is nothing to sneeze at, but I know,
Absolutely.
I've been involved in the back and forth and the discussion, and I know George has been all over it. And there's been.
I'm just thinking 2 weeks ago, how much it cost us to change home ec to consumer science.
Exactly. So, can we take a vote?
Sure. Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and unless there's further questions, that is it for business services this evening. Go Cavs.
Go Cavs.
Under B1, under Human Resources, I have the following items. We have a change in status for our certificated staff. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the following certificated personnel be changed from long-term substitutes to teacher. And under E2, we have a stipend for our summer professional development out of our Title IIA fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that a stipend of $100 per full day or $50 per half day be paid to certificated personnel for attendance at a district-sponsored professional development day, and it will be paid again from the federal Title IIA fund. That is all I have.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to the consent calendar, where we vote on all items with an asterisk in a single vote. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion on any asterisk items? I don't think we had any changes. So take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That brings us to item 11. This is a discussion item from the Board's Facility Development Committee. They have a recommendation on the Drake Elementary School property.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Joe.
Naso. So I will be covering some of the recommendation changes to the Drake building that the
And this-
Board Facilities Development Committee.
Introduce yourself real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry. Joe Mossberger. I am the recently named chair of the committi. Thank you
Excellent.
to Manjeet in
You were
my
missing
absence
on that
during that
meeting,
meeting.
weren't
Yeah, you were missing it.
He didn't show, also did, now he's there at every one of them, so.
All right, so originally, at a meeting earlier this year, the Board of Facilities Development Committee presented to the board a recommendation that the now closed Drake building would be demolished as projected with the original plans and the bond issues. Additional information has been presented to the committee and considered in subsequent meetings. Based on further discussion, committee members have reconsidered the original recommendation and tonight present our reasons for reconsideration and a revised recommendation. Our original conclusions were the estimated $300,000 demolition cost, that the property was no longer needed by the district, and the district had no other use for the building. Private school was not an option, cost prohibitive renovations, functional deficiencies, as well as some asbestos presence. So some other considerations. If the building is sold, we have the opportunity to save the cost of demolition, which we could also turn a profit on the sale, and we could realize a pretty significant swing from an expense to a revenue. So the committee's revised recommendation is that we put Drake up for sale at an auction. We establish a minimum bid. We use a real estate attorney to help us establish the pricing. The committee will meet with the neighbors in the immediate surrounding area to discuss concerns. We can accept or reject based on the proposal, and we can move auction process very quickly, and then if no sale, continue with our original plan of demolition. So why the reconsideration? The committee takes very serious our responsibility and role in the financial prudence of these kind of decisions. So exploring the option of selling the building and property made financial sense. So we recognized that we needed to change our original recommendation and present this up to the board so we can continue to be trusted by the residents as overseers of these types of projects. So, questions?
I don't have any. I'd like to make a comment or two. One, the auction is not binding, so we can put this, when we do this, it's essentially we're testing the waters to see what interest we have for this building. If we knock it down, it's gonna cost us $300,000. We'll have property that's not part of, essentially required by the 30-year plan that we put forward. So we'll be sitting on the property, which is, it's okay to hold assets, right? But that's really not what a school district does. We don't hold assets. We educate children. So on a financial prudence basis, if we can sell the building for $300,000 as opposed to demolishing it, it's a $600,000 swing. If we can sell it for more, you can see how the math works. So instead of going in the hole for 300, we can go up. Now, at the same time, we recognize that we have a responsibility to be good neighbors to the people who moved in near that building to make sure that the right party gets in. And that's why we don't have to accept bids that are not, we can't like take the lower bid over, but if we don't see that the right partner's there or the money, the return isn't what we expect, we don't have to accept, and we go back to the original plan. The committee felt that it was their responsibility to test the waters, to make sure we could see what this property's worth. And if it, like we said, anything over, the $300,000 costs us to knock it down, we turn a profit. So we need to test it, but at the same time, we want to be very careful about what we do with that property, and the neighbors are around it. And George, being around the Allen property when that all happened, we're very sensitive to that, and we'll remain very sensitive to that. To that end, I'd just like to say that we're going to have a special board meeting on June 15th at 6:30, right here, for any of the residents who want to discuss, or anybody who wants to discuss the sale. If you live around it and you want to come talk to us, we're going to be here on June 15th at 6:30, right here. So we want to meet with you. Jim Carbone, it's his ward, so he's going to come around. He'll be here as well to help us. And, and we just want to get opinion. We want to see, right? If we don't, like Richard said in his commencement speech the other day, if you don't ask, you don't know. So we're going to ask, and we're going to see what happens. But we're very sensitive to it, and we want to make sure we do the right thing. And we really appreciate the effort of the Board Facilities Development Committee and the effort they took in reviewing it. So thank you. I don't think we need a vote on that or anything, but it's just so remember that June 15th, 6:30, right here. We'll get the announcement out. It'll be a board meeting, so it'll be published. It'll be in the paper, and you can see it there. So we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Do you have any other information or anything you want to share, Joe? Or
Nope.
no?
And Joe, the members of the Facility Development Committee, they'll be here as well?
We will have as many as we can get.
Okay, great. And Jimmy, you'll be here? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
11. With that, that brings us to executive session. We have no need for, what,
No need.
no need for
No need
executive session.
executive session.
That brings us to adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Do I have a vote?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig? Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes. Meeting adjourned, 7:26.
7:26. Go Cavs.
Mark, I got